Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive that's, well, pretty intelligent, if I do say so myself. We're diving into the world of artificial intelligence.
A topic that's about as hot as it gets these days.
No kidding. Whether you're prepping for that big meeting, trying to keep up with this ever-changing tech landscape, or just plain curious, we're here to break it all down.
That's right, we're cutting through the hype to figure out what AI really is and what it means for, well, you.
And I think some folks might be surprised by how much AI is already touching their lives, sometimes without them even realizing it.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the basics. When we say AI, what are we even talking about?
Well, our sources define it as software, hardware, datasets, all coming together to, solve problems.
Okay, sounds simple enough, but...
But, and this is a big but, how we define AI really depends on who you ask.
Yeah, good point. It's like that whole Wild West analogy, right? Everyone's got their own spin on it.
Exactly.
Like, remember that Spielberg movie, AI? Great film, but not exactly the AI we're building these days.
Not quite.
And then you've got this whole neural net versus AI debate. Is that more about how we use the words than a real difference?
Often, yes. The source makes a good point. The difference is more about, semantics than some fundamental design difference. Take ChatGPT, for example.
Oh, yeah, everyone's favorite chatbot.
Right. It's a neural net built on something called a transformer, but we also call it an AI because of how it interacts with us like a super smart chatbot.
Which is crazy impressive in itself. And this is where it gets even more interesting. The source talks about an AI hierarchy.
Yeah, you've got machine learning, neural nets, deep learning, it's all connected.
Our source actually uses this comparison from IBM. They compare it to like a hierarchy.
Okay, but here's the thing. Just like you wouldn't say Charizard is simply 3 Charmanders stacked on top of each other, an AI isn't just a bunch of neural nets mashed together. You know what I mean?
Huh. Love that analogy. Okay, so there's more to it than meets the eye. And one key thing the source really emphasizes is an AI's ability to learn from experience. Because a static AI, that's not really intelligent, is it?
Exactly. This is where machine learning comes in, the ability for an AI to learn and adapt without being explicitly programmed for every single scenario.
Okay, so to use a simple analogy, it's like the difference between a basic calculator and, say, a supercomputer that can write poetry.
Right. Both can process information, but one can actually learn and evolve.
Now, the source breaks down an AI structure into 3 core parts. Right, the decision-making process, then there's an error function to evaluate how well it's doing, and then an optimization process to, improve. It's like this constant feedback loop, learning and refining as it goes.
And within that learning process, you have different types of learning. There's supervised learning, which is like having a teacher. You feed the AI labeled data, like pictures tagged as cat or dog, and it learns to tell them apart.
Makes sense. So what's the other kind?
Unsupervised learning. It's like giving the AI a giant jigsaw puzzle, but with no picture on the box.
Oof, that sounds tough.
It has to figure out the patterns and relationships on its own.
So if supervised learning is like learning with a guide, unsupervised is like jumping into the deep end and hoping you figure out how to swim.
Pretty much. And what's really interesting is that unsupervised learning can sometimes spot patterns in the data that we as humans would totally miss.
Wow. So it's like having an extra set of eyes, but these eyes can analyze tons of information and make connections we wouldn't even see.
Exactly.
That's both incredibly powerful and a little bit, intimidating.
Definitely.
But that leads us to the different architectures of AI, and one in particular caught my eye, transformers.
Ah, yes. Transformers. They're incredible because they can handle these complex, multi-dimensional data sets. Think video, language, even genetic information. They're like the ultimate multitaskers of the AI world.
Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
And the source mentions they rely heavily on something called tensors. Can you break that down for us?
Well,
what are tensors exactly?
Okay, so imagine a spreadsheet. But instead of just numbers, it can hold anything. Images, sounds, even relationships between things. That's essentially what a tensor is. It's a way to organize complex data, and transformers are built to work with that complexity.
So are tensors how AI understands things like context and nuance?
You got it. They allow AI to recognize patterns and make connections that go way beyond simple keyword matching. It's how a language model like ChatGPT can actually understand what you mean in your questions and respond in a way that feels natural.
So they're not just processing language, they're learning to speak our language.
Precisely.
Wow. Okay, this is getting very meta very quickly.
And it's not just language they're being used for everything.
Yeah.
We're talking video upscaling to deepfake detection, even helping robots navigate complicated environments. You know that amazing facial recognition in DaVinci Resolve? That's powered by tensors.
It's amazing how this tech is already such a part of our world, often without us even realizing it.
It really highlights how AI isn't some distant, futuristic thing. It's here, it's now, and it's only going to become more woven into our lives.
Which makes me wonder what's next.
What's next is a whole world of, well, possibilities, really. We've talked about how AI learns the building blocks, all that, but now let's talk about the architects, right? The companies building this AI future.
Right. It's like we've been looking at the ingredients all this time, and now it's time to taste the dishes.
I like that, yeah.
So first up, OpenAI, the masterminds behind ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, man, it really captured everyone's imagination, right? This whole idea that you could have a real conversation with AI. But the thing is, ChatGPT, it's just one piece of the puzzle for OpenAI.
Totally. They've got DALL-E, which can whip up images from just your descriptions. And then there's Sora, making videos from text prompts. It's like they're giving anyone who can type a sentence creative superpowers.
And we're barely scratching the surface. Their big tech, the GPT-4 model, has applications well, we can't even imagine yet.
Wild, right? It really is like this whole new frontier of creativity. And speaking of pushing boundaries, we got to talk about Microsoft, right? They're making big moves in the AI space with Copilot.
Microsoft's gone a different route, though. They're all about seamlessly weaving AI into their existing stuff, like Windows.
Yeah, Copilot's a perfect example of that. It's like having an AI assistant baked right into your computer, anticipating what you need before you even know you need it, making you a total productivity rock star.
And they're really betting big on this whole AI subscription model, which, I mean, it tells you something about how valuable these AI tools are becoming just in our day-to-day lives.
For sure. And then, of course, there's Google, a name everyone knows in the tech world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their big answer to this AI revolution, Gemini.
Gemini is really interesting. It's what we call multimodal. It can take in and understand text, images, you name it, even code. It's incredibly versatile.
So it's like, instead of having different AI tools for different tasks, Gemini could be your one-stop shop.
Exactly. Write emails, build websites, it can handle it.
That's wild.
It really points to this future where AI isn't just some tool, but like a partner.
Helping us navigate this crazy world.
Yeah.
Okay, from the world of Google, we jump over to Elon Musk's latest project, XAI, and their chatbot Grok.
Grok. See, this one's unique. It has a direct line to all the data from X, which, used to be called Twitter.
So Grok has its finger on the pulse of the internet, seeing everything in real time.
Exactly. And because of that, it can give you insights that other AI models just don't have.
So it's like next level market research right there.
Exactly. But Musk sees Grok as more than just an information source. He wants it to be truly helpful, insightful, almost like, a digital advisor.
That's a lofty goal, for sure.
Yeah.
But then again, shaking things up seems to be par for the course in the AI world.
Speaking of shaking things up, we've got to talk about Midjourney. Remember that Pope coat image that went viral?
Yeah, everyone was talking about that. That was Midjourney.
Yep. It's an AI image generator. You can access it through Discord, which I always thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that.
It really shows you how AI is becoming accessible to pretty much anyone.
It does raise some interesting questions, though. I mean, what does it mean for art, for creativity, when an AI can create something that looks exactly like it was made by a human?
That's a whole other conversation, probably a deep dive in itself, but it's something we're going to have to grapple with as AI gets more powerful.
For sure. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. We looked at how AI works, who's building it, and we've even touched on some of the bigger philosophical questions it raises. But now let's talk about the future. A future with tons of potential, but also maybe some challenges, right?
A future where AI isn't just a tool, but a force that could really reshape the world.
And one of the most mind-blowing possibilities on the horizon is artificial general intelligence, AGI. It's like taking everything we've talked about so far and cranking it up to 11.
The AI we have now, it's impressive, sure, but it's still built for specific tasks. AGI, though, aims to recreate the kind of broad cognitive abilities that we have as humans.
So instead of AI that's a master chess player or a poet, we're talking about AI that can learn and think like a person. Solve problems that's never even seen before. Maybe even, develop consciousness.
It's an idea that's been around for a while now, but it's quickly moving from, science fiction to reality.
It's both super exciting and also, a tiny bit terrifying. Yep. I mean, what happens when AI isn't just a tool, but a partner, a collaborator, maybe even a competitor?
It really is like opening Pandora's box.
And like with Pandora's box, we have to approach AGI carefully, right? It has incredible potential, but we need to be mindful of the risks too.
100%. We need to make sure AGI is developed responsibly, ethically, with safeguards in place so we can avoid any, unintended consequences.
Absolutely. We have to make sure AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Well said. But AGI isn't the only path forward. There are other approaches that are just as mind-blowing, approaches that are actually inspired by the structure of our own brains.
And that brings us to the world of neuromorphic systems. This is AI that isn't just inspired by the brain, it's literally trying to recreate it, but in silicon.
Exactly. It's a radical departure from traditional computing, and it has the potential to unlock levels of efficiency and intelligence that we can only dream of right now.
It's like we're on the edge of this totally new era of computing, one that could revolutionize, well, everything, from how we use our phones to how we solve the world's biggest problems.
And it all comes down to understanding the incredible power and potential of the human brain itself.
It's funny, we talk about AGI and this future where AI can think like a human, but then there's this whole other path that's just as mind-blowing, building AI that's actually structured like the human brain. That's where these neuromorphic systems come in, right?
Yeah, it's a fascinating approach. Instead of just, mimicking how the brain works through software, neuromorphic systems actually try to replicate its physical structure using specialized hardware.
So we're not just talking lines of code here. We're talking actual chips designed to work like neurons. That's wild. So what's the advantage of building AI this way?
Well, for one, our brains are amazingly energy efficient. Way more than even the most powerful supercomputers. If we can unlock the secrets of neuromorphic computing, we could create AI that's not just super intelligent, but also incredibly energy efficient.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Imagine your smartphone could have the processing power of a supercomputer, but only use a fraction of the energy.
That would be game-changing, especially with how much we rely on our devices these days. It's like that whole iron triangle thing in computing, right? Good, fast, cheap. You can usually only pick two. Seems like neuromorphic systems could be the key to breaking free from those constraints.
It's definitely possible. And the source highlights some key players in this field, like Intel with their Loihi-2 chip.
Oh yeah, Intel's Loihi-2. This one is all about mimicking how the brain sends signals, right? Instead of just using ones and zeros, it uses these spikes that can carry way more information.
Exactly. Like how our neurons talk to each other. It's a totally different way of thinking about computing that's much closer to how our brains actually work. And to support that, Intel's even developed this whole software framework called Lava, designed specifically for neuromorphic hardware.
Wow, so they're really going all in on this. It's like they're building a whole ecosystem for this new type of computing. What about IBM? They've got their North Pole processor, right? How does that one fit in?
North Pole takes a slightly different approach. Loihi-2 is all about the brain's signaling, but North Pole is more about optimizing data flow and memory management. It's really good at what we call inference, which is basically using a trained AI model to make decisions.
Okay, so it's like taking what it's learned and putting it into action.
Exactly. And it does this incredibly efficiently. In fact, the source says it could be up to 25 times more energy efficient than a traditional GPU.
Wow, that's insane. Makes you wonder what other crazy AI hardware we'll see in the next few years. But with all this talk about brains and chips, it's easy to forget that AI is already all around us, often in ways we don't even realize.
Oh, absolutely. Which brings us to the AIoT, the artificial intelligence of things. It's where AI meets the Internet of Things, where everyday devices become intelligent and interconnected.
Okay, so paint me a picture. We're talking about a world where everything is connected and intelligent. Our phones, our cars, even our fridges and coffee makers.
Exactly. And it's already happening, right? We're seeing AI-powered security systems, smart homes that learn your habits, even traffic lights that change in real time based on traffic flow.
It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. What are some of the biggest benefits we can expect to see from this AIoT?
Well, increased efficiency for sure, improved safety too, and of course, personalized experiences that are tailored to your needs.
Sounds pretty utopian.
Yeah.
But like with any major technological shift, there are going to be challenges, right?
Of course. Data privacy and security are big ones. With so much information being collected and analyzed, how do we make sure that data is protected in an AI-driven world?
Right, because that data is incredibly valuable.
It's a critical question and one that we as a society need to figure out. Transparency and accountability are going to be key as AI becomes more and more a part of our lives.
We need to make sure that AI is developed ethically, with a focus on fairness, transparency, and the well-being of, everyone.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, this has been quite a deep dive. From the basic building blocks of AI to this mind-blowing potential of AGI and neuromorphic computing.
And everything in between.
It's clear we've only just scratched the surface of what AI can do. It's a field that's constantly evolving, with the potential to reshape our world in ways we can't even imagine.
It really is an exciting time to be alive, to be witnessing this technological revolution firsthand.
I completely agree. And as we've been discussing, it's not just about being amazed by the possibilities. It's also about having these thoughtful conversations about what it all means, the good and the bad.
We need to make sure we're building a future where AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Well said. And on that note, a huge thank you to all our listeners for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of AI. We hope this deep dive has given you a new appreciation for this incredible technology and the impact it's having on our lives.
And remember, this is just the beginning. The story of AI is being written every single day.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those big questions.